Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on vacation on the Majority Report. How come? Wait a second. Why is his screen bigger than mine? Is his screen bigger than mine? I want to welcome. I guess he's a big shot. He's a big shot. He's the DC bureau chief at the Intercept and co-host of Counterpoints. And no, give him the big screen. I'm not going to be petty about this. All right. Ryan Grimm, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the program. And let me just say this too. I read. I don't think you're technically allowed to be in the Intercept union, are you?
No, I'm a boss.
Because you're management. But
I'm them.
There's a lot of stuff going on, I guess, at the Intercept. A lot of stuff that I know you don't really necessarily have control over, based upon where you are. But I do want to just tell people that some of the best journalism and part of it is, frankly, attrition too. I mean, you guys have always done, but you guys have always done good work. But there's far fewer numbers of outlets that I turn to on a regular basis. The American Prospect I go to with, particularly under Dayan's tutelage. There's a couple others. And then the Intercept are the two that I really, rely on to get, or at least to start my media journey every day. And so if people can subscribe, and we should say, no longer, your billionaire went off, because
that's right.
I can only imagine he may need to go to Mars. And so you need to save your money.
Yes. Can't be spending it on journalism.
Honestly,
maybe he's going to do an outlet on Mars.
I don't want to get into this, but I just don't understand. I just don't understand how a billionaire walks away from any project. I just don't understand.
And what's funny is when I started there in 2017, Forbes listed his net worth at $8 billion. And he was in the process of just giving all his money away. He's done. He's like, I'm just doing philanthropy the rest of my life. He's now worth $22 or $23 billion.
You can't not make money when you have that amount of money. The last 6 years
giving his money away. Right. And then he's like, well, I don't want to keep spending money on this thing. So.
It's really weird. But I mean, putting that aside, it's really incomprehensible to me. I mean, that's just really, we could probably do a whole hour of that when you're no longer working there, but people should go and support it is my point.
Yeah,
it's completely self-sustaining now, right? Or I mean, that's the hope anyways.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And I think there is a path. I think we're in trouble, but I think there's a path. Yeah.
So folks, if you have a couple extra bucks, go support that. All right. With that said, let's just start with, I played this clip of Joe Biden saying, to Michael Bennett on the floor of the House afterwards, don't tell anybody, but Bibi and I are going to have, I told Bibi we're going to have a come to Jesus moment. So in other words,
isn't that the come to Jesus moment? Can you tell somebody it's going to happen?
You can tell somebody that's, there was one time, I'll say to my kid, hey, after school, you and we got a problem. I'm not going to do it right now, but that's because there's school. What's he waiting for? Why didn't he say we're going to have a come to Jesus moment when he told him we're going to have a come to Jesus moment? What is the delay here?
Letting him continue to accomplish his objective,
or
some weird faith that any day now he's going to actually do something different. I can't see it. Why not just have the moment?
Is there any indication that you have that there's anybody driving this in the White House or in the foreign policy establishment outside of Joe Biden?
No. All the impression that we get from the State Department, the administration, is that this is a Biden-driven thing. Now, how much of that is true and how much of it might be people who are looking forward to the near future and looking for an out if this when the reckoning comes. Be like, yeah, well, that was that. Like I told you then, that this was Biden, but secretly, it's not as if they're resigning or doing anything to put the brakes on it.
Right. What about what we're hearing this week? We heard some stuff coming out of Kamala Harris's office. Do you know anything about that?
It's amazing that her office is leaking that she's actually really good on Palestine and thinks that Biden is wrong and they're undermining her, and that if she were doing it, that'd be done differently. It's just incredible that her team is leaking that, because it's like, okay, that's nice, but it does show that even the normie centrist Democrats read the writing on the wall on this politically.
And do you think that, how much, what happens in the White House when that happens? Do Biden's people, does Jeff Zients call up whoever the chief of staff is over at the vice president to go what the F are you doing?
I haven't reported on this specific incident, but that in general would be what would happen. Yes. Was this a planned leak? What do you think you're doing?
And of course, the Harris people go we have no idea who did this.
Yeah, who on earth could have done this?
We're doing an investigation, internal. Yeah. I mean, everybody. I mean, this is a good sign though, because it means that the political sort of defenses are falling. Right. It's only now in the red keep, as it were, is what is left standing. The outer walls have fallen. The countryside is taken over in terms of where it's going. This story, I'm sure you've seen from the Internationalist. It's going around, Alexander Ward's book. When in 1982, Biden was with a highly emotional confrontation, this according to the New York Times, with then Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin in a closed session of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Israel had just invaded Lebanon. I distinctly remember this. I was actually in Israel when this happened. How
old are you?
I'm old, man. 57. I was 15 years old and saw the helicopters staying low to go and bomb Beirut. I had a big falling out with my rabbi, but that's not the point of this. To root out Palestinian guerrillas who attacked Israel. American lawmakers weren't happy about it, and they were primed to tell Begin off, except for one senator. Biden said he wasn't critical of the Lebanon policy, with Begin later telling Israeli journalists the Delaware senator had delivered a very impassioned speech, and he actually supported Operation Peace for the Galilee. According to Begin, Biden, Biden, quote, said he would go even further than Israel, adding that he'd forcefully fend off anyone who sought to invade his country, even if that meant killing women or children. The Israeli premier added, I disassociated myself from those remarks. According to our values, it's forbidden to hurt women and children, even in war. Now, two things about Begin. Begin was a member of the Irgun, and they were involved and, if not directly responsible, for the blowing up of the King David Hotel, which killed 90 people. Now, it wasn't women and children, and part of that King David Hotel was being used for military purposes. And I would say the other thing I would note is, apparently it's still within Israel's values these days to kill women and children. But it gives you a sense of just how fervent Joe Biden is. It's crazy.
It does feel that it's just central to it feels ideological. Everything else about Biden feels that he's this middle of the road politician.
Cipher.
And Delaware's just the perfect place because you've got the rural part down in the South. You've got heavily African-American population in Wilmington. You got the the white suburbs that he was appealing. He figured out how to balance between the white flight folks who are fighting about busing, and he's always been this guy, a cipher right in the middle. And wherever the Democratic Party was, whether it's the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2020, like he's just right smack in the middle. No opinion of his own, just Delaware politician. This seems like one of the only things where he has like an actual ideology on it. But part of that is probably also because there's never been a balance that you had to strike on this issue. And so as a politician, if there's no balance, he's going all the way, because that is the politically, like, if you're a cynical politician, that's the politically smart thing to do. Like when he supported the Iraq War, I think he's even talked about this openly, that he opposed the war in 1991, the Gulf War. As far as the American public was concerned, that went well. George H.W. Bush's approval rating goes up to 90%. Biden learned from that. Don't ever oppose a war, because if it goes badly, your voters don't have anywhere to go. You're a Democrat. And if it goes well, then you look bad. So just support every war. So when it came to the question of Israel from like the 70s up until fairly recently, there was no cost for being anything other than super pro-Israel. And so maybe that hardened somehow into an ideology.
It's mystifying. And to the extent that he addressed it in the State of the Union last night, all we really got was like, he's vaguely interested in in a two-state solution, but nothing. There's no, I mean, if you're not willing to get them to stop slaughtering women and children and innocent men too, for that matter.
Yeah. The men always get written out of this.
And your own Secretary of Defense has been saying for 2 or 3 months, you can win a battle, but you're going to lose the war, both from an ideological standpoint, but nobody seems to think in the administration getting rid of Hamas is even possible. And so it's hard to imagine he's going to force them into a two-state solution situation. That just seems absurd to me. But
no, and you noticed he put it all the way at the end of his State of the Union.
Yes.
When everybody's in bed. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Let's go through the State of the Union, because aside from that, and then one moment, let's deal with the negative first. The immigration thing, it has been somewhat effective, maybe politically, but I think that like this is one of those things where down the road it's really going to bite Democrats in the ass. It could hurt them at the ballot box, but maybe less so because nothing has happened. But then he goes on, he's got to say the word illegals as if like what, like, listen to this segment. It sort of undercuts his whole point in this segment here.
In November, my team began serious negotiation with a bipartisan group of senators. The result was a bipartisan bill with the toughest set of border security reforms we've ever seen. Oh, you don't think so? Oh, you don't like that bill, huh? That conservatives got together and said it was a good bill? I'll be darned. That's amazing. That bipartisan bill would hire 1,500 more security agents and officers, 100 more immigration judges to help tackle the backload of 2 million cases, 4,300 more asylum officers, and new policies so they can resolve cases in 6 months instead of 6 years now. What are you against? 100 more high-tech drug detection machines to significantly increase the ability to screen and stop vehicles smuggling fentanyl into America. That's killing thousands of children. This bill would save lives and bring order to the border. It will also give me and any new president new emergency authority to temporarily shut down the border when the number of migrants at the border is overwhelming. The Border Patrol Union has endorsed this bill. The Federal Chamber of Commerce is, yeah. You're saying low. Look at the facts. I know you know how to read. I believe that given the opportunity for a majority in the House and Senate would endorse the bill as well, a majority right now. But unfortunately, politics has derailed this bill so far. I'm told my predecessor called members of Congress in the Senate to demand they block the bill. He feels political win, he viewed it as a political win for me and a political loser for him. It's not about him, it's not about me. I'd be a winner. Not really. Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of the thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand. But look, if we change the dynamic at the border, people pay these smugglers $8,000 to get across the border because they know if they get by and let into the country, it's 6 to 8 years before they have a hearing. And it's worth taking the chance of the $8,000. But if it's only 6 weeks, the idea is it's highly unlikely that people will pay that money and come all that way knowing that they'll be able to be kicked out quickly. Folks.
All right. I mean, we don't need to listen more. I mean, this got into a little bit of a mess here. Apparently, Marjorie Taylor Greene had given him had given him, you got to run in 5 minutes.
Sorry, man.
Okay. All right. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene had given him
my favorite part of the week, but yeah, like,
okay, gotcha.
Intercept stuff.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, had given him a badge about a woman who had been killed by an undocumented immigrant. And Biden tries to say, like, there are more people who kill people who are not undocumented immigrants. I mean, this is that's a weird. It's like the Big Lebowski. Like you're not wrong, dude. You're just an a-hole.
Right. Okay, that's true. And it's actually a fair point that like this idea that if you cut off all immigration, that all of a sudden we're just like Switzerland or something and without crime is absurd. Like there's plenty of native-born people who do crimes. But is that a point you riff from up there?
I don't know. He could have. There had to have been a better, different way to do this. And then to use the term illegals just after he said that Trump was, was demeaning immigrants and whatnot.
Trump's demeaning illegals.
This the thing where this works though is he's talking to Congress, and in the past it's been about Donald Trump. Here, it seems to me, he misses a big opportunity to say, you guys aren't doing anything. You're stopping everything. Like, he didn't really show any frustration with the greatest do-nothing Congress we have ever seen. And I'm sort of shocked by that.
That's true. Yeah, they just keep trying to keep the government open. That's the main thing that they've been able to do. But I think you're right. You could see this pivot from Democrats coming, from miles away on immigration, like especially the second that the Hispanic vote, like it was so tied to this like emerging Democratic majority theme that this idea that emerged from the like suburbs of Washington, D.C. among consultants that what Hispanic voters care about is immigration reform. And we're going to do that. And they're going to be a part of our coalition. And we're going to be a dominant, coalition government for the next 50 years. The second that Hispanic voters are like, actually, that's not our biggest issue. Like we have lots of other issues. And then they start trending towards Republicans. You could immediately see that Democrats were going to be like, oh, okay, cool. Well, then screw immigrants. Like that's coming from the Democratic Party. And it's awkward because they have all this signs in their front yards from the Trump administration that are all fraying. But they'll figure out a way through it.
I mean, the only upshot is that the Republicans wouldn't say take yes for an answer on this.
Yes, thank God for these Republicans. They saved Social Security and Medicare 10 years ago by not saying yes. They're saving this now. Yeah,
with Biden.
We are fortunate. Yeah, with the Biden commission. That's right. They won't let Biden screw over the Democratic base as much as he tries.
All right. With all that said, because I think those are the two biggest negatives in my mind of this speech. You got to run in a second. Overall, though, what was your impression of this?
I mean, he did like he's done before. Like he gets hopped up and he looks less decrepit. But I think that people are fooling themselves on cable when they say like he answered all the questions about his age and you can put that to rest. It's like people are not stupid. Like we all know old people. We have old people in our lives that we love. We know they have good moments and they have not so good moments. And so we don't have a good moment with an elderly person and think, oh, they're not elderly anymore. They can drive now because they were lucid for the last hour. And that's an extreme kind of look at it. But I think if the polls are showing that 90% of people think he's too old, none of those people are going to watch him on television and say, oh, he seemed okay there. I guess I was wrong. Because they know that's not how age works. And so that was
I disagree with this. Okay. I disagree with
you think that boxer came out there and
no, not necessarily. I just think that I think the old is a proxy for they don't think that he's capable of leading. And I think because, that's what too old means, right? I mean, right. Too old means too old for something. And the bottom line is the only people who watch this and take anything away from it, and more or less, are the media. And in terms of it impacting the media narrative, this, I think, is going to, unless, until the next moment, like he had on that, stupid primetime press conference, I think this quiets the media. I don't think at the New York Times, editors.
That's probably true.
I don't think the editors
we'll see another one in a week. Yeah.
I don't think at the New York Times they're not going to say we need more Biden's too old stories.
That's true.
I think that's what this achieves. It gets the Morning Joe people would be like, he's not too old, and it will stop those stories for a month or two.
But I think a lot of it is organic from people's own impressions. That's my guess, but we'll see.
Yeah, I agree, but I think you're going to see, at least until his next thing, you're going to see a lot less of this. That's my guess, but I know you got to run. We'll do this again.
Yeah, already cut it short.
Yeah, well,
I'll do double time next time.
All right, we will take you up on that. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Grim, Intercept. Go support the Intercept.